Welcome back, and we start the conversation on that note of zoning within the National Assembly by one of the parties with the largest population amongst the elected legislators, the All Progressives Congress, having zoned the Senate presidency to the south, naming a particular senator, and the Deputy Senate President to the northwest, Speaker, northwest, Deputy Speaker, northeast. Now, that is the arrangement of the All Progressives Congress. But apparently the opposition party members are not happy, and it looks like they're not going to go along with that. So in the studio we have a Deputy Chairman, House Committee on Anti-Corruption, spokesperson of the 10th House of Reps, PDP, and Minority Caucus. Thank you for joining us, Honorable Dachung.
Thank you. Good morning.
It's interesting. My colleague said that the opposition members are not happy. It would be very strange if they were happy, wouldn't it?
Well, we're never meant to be happy, whatever decision they've taken at the end of the day.
But how is it your business that the All Progressives APC decided to do that? How does it bother
Absolutely, it's none of our business, because the House, the National Assembly entirely, is a very sacred house, like a very sacred house. And the sacredness of the House is enshrined in the Constitution. Section 50, subsection 1A and B. 1A talks about the Senate presidency, and the B talks about Speaker and Deputy Speakership. And it says, there shall be a Speaker and a Deputy Speaker to be elected among members by ourselves. The Constitution said by themselves, not to be nominated by any party thinking that it's majority or thinking that it's no, but the Speaker and Deputy Speaker of the House that will emerge in any assembly will be elected by members, and members not that by someone but by themselves. So 360 members will decide who will be its Speaker and Deputy Speaker. That is the sacredness of the House. And from the opposition, which we are the greater majority, and unfortunately, I usually don't understand how some people do their political calculation. When you have a House that the minority parties is 183 against your own party, which is 177. You sit down in a room, take tea, and just allocate positions, and we'll just sit down. Oh, come on!
So you think that your 183 numbers will make any difference?
Absolutely.
Even though they have the majority within the chambers?
Majority. We have the majority. They don't have the majority.
No, they have the majority as an individual party.
They have a majority as an individual party.
Yes.
But we have the majority as the minority party. That's why we call ourselves a greater majority. And the greatness that we have from our own minority parties have made us to be an indivisible bloc. So coming together. Coming together.
So the other side of it is how. Together, when you say coming together, how united are you guys?
Very united. We have had our first, second extraordinary sessions in the House, and if you had followed us, you will see that we were all there. We had a vote in even taking decisions. And one of the major decisions is that because we knew that this is what the APC will do, its kangaroo arrangement. We said that, look, with our 183, we are going to contest for the speakership and deputy speakership of the House among ourselves.
It is interesting that you say you're already having these votes when the House has not yet been proclaimed. I mean, to the best of our knowledge, the 9th Assembly is still very much in existence. It hasn't been dissolved yet, and all of this talk is talking like as going on as if we're already in the 10th Assembly.
Yeah, well, elections have taken place already. INEC has already declared
elections have taken place, but we know that the 9th Assembly is still in existence and is yet to be proclaimed. But I mean, I very much understand what it is that you're talking about, and the fact that the politicking is already heavily underway. You've talked about your numbers, the numbers of the the minorities, whom you now refer to as the greater majority. It'll be very interesting to see how, who will now be majority leader and who will be minority, leader. If, that kind of permutation will come into play. But this is what we've now seen from the APC in terms of their zoning. Some people have said, oh, they shouldn't have left it till this late, and they should have spoken up much earlier because politicking has been ongoing, and it is very possible that members would have made up their mind before the zoning arrangement comes into play. This is not just something that the APC is doing. We've seen parties, even the PDP, when it had majority power in the National Assembly, try to zone it in such a way that it felt it was distributing offices in a way that was accommodating of all of the political zones in the country. That didn't always go down well. And we've seen how, the party's choice will be upstaged on the day of voting. Yeah, so I'm just wondering, why is it that somehow parties always want to go with a certain candidate, and somehow members always have a different choice? Why do you think that they simply can't see eye to eye?
Yeah, because you see, politicians have not yet realized the sacredness of having 3 tiers of government. And in the National Assembly, it's an entity of its own. The executive cannot and will not determine what will happen in the National Assembly. The sacredness of the National Assembly has given the members, like I said earlier, the freedom, the opportunity to be able to look into what will happen. So nobody will be able to dictate. And that's why the politicking is ongoing. Whosoever the members of the 10th National Assembly, and just like it has happened in the previous assembly, will decide who will be its presiding officers. And it's time that, look, we need to understand what the Constitution says, what it has enshrined for members. You cannot sit down today and just go to the judiciary and telling the NJC that this will be, and this is the person that will be the chief judge. It's not possible. It is sacred. It goes according to its own rules. So the same thing with the National Assembly, in as much as a lot of politicking takes place, but the sacredness of that institution, it's very sacred to understand that this is a body that makes law. This is a body that oversight. This is a body, again, that reach out to the 300, to over 2 million Nigerians. So these are issues that politicians have not yet understood.
So ostensibly, the reason why political parties tend to get involved, what they try to tell the public is that, oh, we're trying to zone this in such a way that all parties feel a part of government. All the geopolitical zones are represented. But in terms of what has happened here with the APC and its zoning, I am still trying to wrap my head around how all the zones have been represented here.
It's the worst that has ever happened in the history of Nigeria and politics in terms of National Assembly. I'm not supposed to even talk about the APC, but look at what they have done. They've taken the Deputy Senate President to Northwest. They again giving the speakership to Northwest, leaving the other zones like the North Central and other zones that are supposed to have been part of. What equity?
Those are some of the things that will now, we'll now be asking the APC what exactly has influenced this. But for you, apart from the fact that, okay, opposition is generally never happy, whatever happens with whatever the political party, the ruling political party does, their job is to oppose it. What exactly is influencing the decision of members within the House? And people can say, oh, it's because of competence, capacity, but oftentimes the people whom they are thinking of bringing on board, they have never tested them. So what exactly influences the choice of members, general members in the National Assembly who always want to go against whatever it is the ruling party says?
First of all, in our rules that whosoever will be our presiding officer, be it the Speaker or Deputy Speaker, must be an experienced member, that is a legislator that is well groomed, not just first, at least second, third term. So we know ourselves. Knowing ourselves, we know who can be a presiding officer to be able to handle the House. The executive don't understand who the member. Okay, for instance, let me give you an example with what the APC just did in producing, in zoning it to Northwest. Not that they just zone it to Northwest, they micro-zone to an individual. The micro-zone to an individual. I can tell you, me seated here, I will speak for the people, me seated here, I have never sat down to interact for 1 minute. Apart from just passing across the corridor, will even the person they nominated to be the speaker. So what confidence will I have that the person that they are nominating for the speaker will be and give me fair hearing or have the capacity to even preside over the House? So these are issues that, look, you need a seasoned legislator, someone that can and will be able to interact with the entire 360 members. And that is why we, the opposition, say, look, we are going to, we have already set out an 11-man committee. The 11-man committee is sitting from today. Between now and next week, Tuesday, they will bring out our own list of people that we have screened among ourselves that we know. We know them, we can identify them, we know their capacity, we know their antecedents, and so to be able to contest for this, so we won't even be able to wait for APC to dictate to us. By the way, what is if they are now zoning? Let me give you this. If APC is zoning the speakership according to where they got majority of votes, according to their own argument, the Northwest, then the greater majority, we the opposition, we are going to give Nigerians according to the votes of the greater majority. How did the greater majority, how did we get the 183 votes from different minority parties? PDP, PDP during the general elections, PDP got almost 7 million votes. Labour Party got almost 6 million votes, and other minority parties. Put our votes together. Our votes together will be 13 million votes. The APC votes is how many votes? 8 million votes. So we are going to determine, because of the majority of even the votes we have. So we should be able to be talking about the votes we have that we got from Nigerians, not the votes that one party got. So they are even the minority in terms of the votes from the general elections, in terms of even the number in that. So APC is even minority, not even majority in terms of all ramifications.
You talk about, your members, you know yourselves, but we also know that majority of you people are people who are coming in for the very first time.
Yeah.
So how do you intend to sway these people who are coming in for the very first time, regardless of the party that they belong to say, this is the way you should go. We know this person. We can trust this person. What are some of the things that you are telling? I understand induction started yesterday. What are some of the things that you are telling these new members to look out for in the people whom you are going to be presenting to them?
In everything, even in grooming your own child at home, you give him you try to groom him in understanding that this is the way. If you go this way, it will go wrong. And that's why you take your children to school. And most of the new members that we have been interacting with them, we have had sessions and several meetings with them according to state caucuses, within our own so they are being groomed on a daily basis. They say, look, this is how this is done. There are experiences of others that did not follow what experienced and seasoned members told them, and today they are nowhere to be found. So experience, understanding that integrity, morality of the House, and not just morality of the House, morality of us being called honorable members. The name honorable member is not a title that you just get on the street. We went through season of elections that today we are being called honorable. So the honorability in us needs to give us the understanding that, look, we need to be able to bring out issues honorably. And that's why and what we are doing with the new members so far.
You know, some will say that the APC just did its zoning. It's not telling new members how to vote at the end of the day. But also, why is this leadership thing so important when you people should be discussing the areas that you're going to be tackling as soon as you're coming? But you're going to answer that just before you go. As we bring in our colleagues from Lagos, they have some questions for you, please. Bookie.
Thank you, NT. I'm just wondering, coming off the strength of Marquez's question to you, Honorable Bagos, the fragility of the independence of the House. I wonder if party members, members-elect rather, are concerned about this, just as much. If you're riding on the strength of your majority in the minority, that's a good thing. But this new members-elect, how are they going to survive the pressure from which is inevitable, which may inevitably come from the members of the ruling party? I'm sure that they'll be coming with all forms of offers to this new members-elect to sway them to vote for their candidates.
Well, thank you. I must commend you for I think you're the first person in channels to pronounce my name Bagos as if you're from Jos. So I need to check. Maybe you were schooled in Jos very well. You did not funkify the name like others. Well, by the way, the new members, they are the beautiful bride of the house. So whosoever is contesting for whatever position, usually try to sway them with whatever. But what we have told them is, say, look, the credibility of the House is that whosoever will discuss on certain issues with you should be able to tell you his agenda according to the tenets of the House, not agenda according to what he might give you now, or how he want to make you possible a committee chairman, or how he wants it. No. Being a committee chairman is more than being, it's not up to you being a honorable member. Being a committee chairman is a responsibility added to you from what your people have given you to come and represent them. So it's not just about being a committee chairman. It's about making sure that your people are well represented. It's about making sure that your people get the dividends of democracy according and within the laws of the laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So as they are being cajoled, they are being lobbied, we are grooming them on daily basis, and that's part of one of the issues we are discussing through the induction, that the essence of you being a honorable member is beyond whatsoever promise anybody will promise you because of this and that. But any promise that any candidate will do to any member should be how we'll be able to ensure that the leadership of the House is being protected, the leadership of the House is being preserved, the leadership of the House is carried, it will be able to carry members all along. And that will take me to your questions about everything we do as legislators or even in the executive. Whatsoever happens that is not good at the end of the day is leadership. So that is why the issue of leadership of the House is very critical to us, because we understand that whosoever will be a leader, a credible leader, someone with capacity, will be able to lead the House.
Just a quick follow-up.
Shaping.
My apologies, Honorable, if you can hear me. Just a quick follow-up on that, quick follow-up to Bukola's question. You often tell us, legislators, politicians, that politics is a game of interests. Now, what if, as Bukola asked, superior interests that are possibly personal or communal come from these other parties? You're not all from one political party. You are from different political parties, and each political party cannot match the numbers of the ruling party, so to speak. What if other superior interests come to play for these new legislators, as you say?
Well, the superior interest should not should not override their personal interests. And their first personal interest that they are representative of their various constituencies. They shouldn't forget that. And that we should be able to tell them that the major interest of every legislator is the interest of his people that voted him into power. So any interest that seems to be superior shouldn't be more superior than the interest of his constituency. So that should be the first point of call. No interest as a politician is more than the interest of your people. Those interests will come in. Those pressures will come in. But then at the end of the day, the interests of your people supersede whatsoever interest that might come in. So those are the grooming sessions that we have been giving the newcomers. We have seen it played out. But I wouldn't say that 100% will be able to follow what we are, but then the majority out of the minority that we already have of the opposition, we should be able to make a statement that, look, the interests of our people come into play to be able to give them the dividends of democracy from leadership that we want to bring into the 10th Assembly, and at the same time to be able to see that whatsoever interests they have should be that will be whatsoever laws that we will make through in the 10th Assembly.
Well, closely related to that, Honorable, is, the premium that the National Assembly places on its ranking rules and its independence, its needs to wield its own independence to elect its key officers. But then again, we see every election cycle how groups come up with, agitations for the ruling party to consider zoning, the key offices to a particular region of the country, whether it's in the interest of inclusion, whether it's in the interest of electoral gains, or to follow historical precedent. I'm wondering, what's the place of your standing rules anyway, if these groups place legitimacy on what the party thinks above your standing rules?
Yeah, well, like I said, our standing rules in terms of ranking, our standing rules clearly stated in that, look, whosoever will be the presiding officer must be an experienced legislator, and being experienced have to do with ranking, and being experienced have to do with your capacity, being experienced have to do with your number of years of returning into the House for you to be able to be a presiding officer. So, and understanding the issue of zoning, well, the issue of zoning, it's not part of our own rules in any way, but because of national unity on whatsoever issue we want to bring, and stability, that members or whatever party want to look at in bringing stability. But unfortunately, with what the APC have done, has not shown any national unity, have not shown that they want to stabilize the country, have not shown that they are carrying Nigerians along, but rather they are looking at their own personal political patronage according to votes. Like I say, even if it is their personal political patronage according to votes, they don't even have the votes as far as we are concerned. Okay. So ranking is very key, and it's not just about, and in Nigerian legislation, the House, be it the House of Representatives of the Senate, is a worldwide practice. Okay. If you look at and watch the sitting of even the U.S. Congress, you see them even addressing their colleagues as ranking so-so-so and so-so-so. Well, we don't do that. We just address you as the right honorable and so on.
Just a quick one, because we are running out of time. I just want to ask this question of, how significant is this whole zoning arrangement to the governance issues and the legislative functions? I ask that because, as you said, most of the issues that you have raised are more tilted in the favor of political arrangements. Yesterday we had a senator, former senator, Itayanang, who told us, look, at the end of the day, it's interests. Personal interests first, community interests next. That's what politicians do. That's at least from his own experience, having been chairman of both House Committee and the Senate Committee on Ethics and Business. So with that in mind, how significant really is this issue of zoning on the welfare of the people that are supposed to be governed and represented through this whole political arrangements in the National Assembly? How significant is zoning to governance?
Well, unfortunately, the Nigerian system, because of interests, like you brought out together, and because of lack of fairness and true federal character in ensuring that Nigerians get what they need to get at all equal levels, the zoning issue came in, especially during the Abacha regime. But for the legislature, for the workings of the National Assembly, we don't know anything in our rule books like zoning. Zoning just came in because of, well, the interest to be able to carry everybody along. And that came in as a result of that some leaders have not been fair. Just like what the APC have done, that they are not fair to even other zones. You just lump everything. And by the way, if you want to even talk about the zoning, the Northwest have produced speaker. Tambawal, Right Honorable Tambawal was a speaker from the Northwest. Masari was a speaker from the Northwest. The first speaker in 1999, Buhari, was a speaker from the Northwest. And so even if you want to talk of zoning, that is not fair even to the other zones of the country. Where did you keep North Central? Where did you even keep the Northeast? Where did you keep the South and Southeast in terms of the zoning? So even in terms of the zoning, they are not fair. And those are the issues that, because leaders are not fair to Nigerians, that agitation comes into play. Now that what they have been able to do, the other zones will start agitating that, look, you are not fair to us. But in terms of legislation, in terms of business of the House, we don't look at issues according to, when it comes to our presiding officers, according to zoning. We don't look at that. All we look at is capacity. All we look at is your own ability to be able to lead us according to our rules, your own ability to be able to ensure that the Constitution is being enshrined and the Constitution is being kept, and at the end of the day, that Nigerians see the dividends of democracy. So I must make this very clear, that the business of the National Assembly has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with zoning. But the interest of politicians look into zoning for fear and whatsoever they want to do. So those are issues that we need to understand very clearly, that the business of the National Assembly has nothing to do with zoning. Well,
which leads me to the natural question coming next, Honorable Bagos, and that is, I mean, you clearly just mentioned one of those issues that you think the House of Representatives should consider moving forward. What other issues would you say that the House of Representatives needs to do differently in this 10th National Assembly? I don't know if you can speak for the entire National Assembly, but from your experience, I mean, having been in opposition and been on this side as well for a while, what are the things that you would say the National Assembly, perhaps more specifically the House of Representatives, has to do differently in order for the true dividends of democracy to get home to Nigerians?
Yeah, the 10th National Assembly will be very different in many areas. Number one, you have the opposition parties even more than the ruling party. So which means there will be more checkmate in whatsoever business of the day that the ruling party want to come into play. Secondly, there will be more representation according to the voice of the people that have voted the different minority parties that today we have the majority. So the different thing that you will see that will come into the 10th National Assembly is that we'll have more voice of Nigerians in the 10th House of Representatives because of the more parties that are now in the opposition. So the different thing is that the different thing again that you will see in the 10th House of Representatives is that we will vote our own speaker among ourselves, by ourselves, and so shall it be. Section 50, subsection 1B, we will enshrine it, we will ensure that it's protected, it is sacred to us, it is sacred to Nigerians, and the laws of the Federation must be protected.
You know, Honorable Bagos, the question someone would ask is, would you be these opposed to the decision of the APC if they had zoned the speakership to the North Central?
not at all. I'm not speaking for North Central. I'm not speaking for North Central. I'm speaking for the opposition. I'm speaking for the minorities. I'm speaking for people that have sat down and discussed the issues. If today the opposition collectively will have taken a decision, who will go and who will toil towards that decision? But if it comes to personal interest for me to talk about personal interest, everybody will talk about his own. But again, if I am from the Northwest, I will even speak against lumping a lot of things just to the Northwest in the fairness of Nigerians, in the fairness of understanding that whatsoever we need to do, we need to spread the dividends of democracy. That is as a politician. But the sacredness of the House, in the fairness of giving whosoever is credible among ourselves. Whosoever is credible among ourselves. So that is the area we are not now looking at. But whatsoever we will look at it at the end of the day, the members will speak.
You know, it's interesting because you say that you're going to be producing the leadership from amongst the greater majority. That's what you said.
Absolutely.
Oftentimes when that wants to happen, they usually have somebody within the ruling party whom they support. But it does appear that somebody from amongst you is going to be standing. Is that what I understand?
That's the essence. Like I said, we have put in an 11-man screening committee, and we have opened it to all the members. That look, whosoever is interested should come forward, unless we don't have anyone that is interested to run before the opposition will go back again. Look at our resolutions and say, okay, look, what can we now look within the other party? But then, we as it is now, we are contesting for the speakership. But like I said, unless we don't have nomination, people that are interested, all the people that have come out now contesting, came out that, look, we want to contest. Not that someone told them to go and contest. Well, if there is,
so we don't know. It doesn't matter if they are from the APC.
No.
They came out on their own.
No, our first point of call of screening is among ourselves. Yes, our resolution is that we are going to contest we're going to screen within the opposition for the speaker and deputy speakership. So even if at the end of the day we don't have someone that came out for the speaker, we only have someone that came out for the deputy speakership, we will still go for it. But the two presiding positions of the House, the opposition, the greater majority is going for it.
Okay, thank you so much. We've been speaking with Dachung Bagos, who's Deputy Chairman, House Committee on Anti-Corruption, and he's speaking for the 10th House of Representatives opposition groups. Thank you so much for coming in this morning. Sunrise will be back in a moment. Just stay with us.